Miss Martin Muses and Pub Crawl. It is another stop on our pub crawl of night 2. This is our 10th pub, so I think we're very, very deep into this evening and into lots of alcohol. Maybe I think we're at least I'm at the point metaphorically where I'm just drinking water because I don't want to end up in the hospital. Can't speak for my guest, which is none other than Roman of the Empire. Hello, Roman of the Empire, making his Miss Martin Muses debut.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. I appreciate the invitation. I brought some drinks to mix here in the bar of the Empire. So I'm looking forward to tonight's discussion. I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, and the pep that we are meeting in today is none other than an Irish one. Yay! Can you tell us about this pub, the Irish Village Shop?
So this is this is fun, and most of you won't get to go here. I'm just going to throw that right out now. The Irish Village is in Dubai. I was there some time ago when during my travels when I was in the Navy, and it's founded by an Irish dude in Dubai, staffed largely with either Irish expats or Irish travelers. Those who are they're working there and they're moving on to some other point. But it is a little slice of Ireland right in the middle of Dubai. It is just very, very unique. And it's a pub. That's when you walk in there, it's all the wood, everything you expect out of an Irish pub. And like I said, the staff is wonderful. And it's just so different than everything else around you, because everything else around you, Dubai is not known for being a slum city. It's all opulence. It's grand things. And the Irish Village is just a really cool kind of grounded spot in the middle of all that for people like myself and a lot of European travelers, obviously, to come to and congregate in and just be. And it's very relaxing, and it's air conditioned, which is also nice.
Yeah. This is
It's
showing
grown a lot, by the way, Miss Merton Muses, since I was there, and I forget it's been a minute. So when I was there, they've just recently celebrated like their 20th anniversary over there. When I was there, they were only a few years old, so it hadn't grown to the big thing that it is now over there. So I'd actually be interested in seeing, geez, what does it look like now in the year 2023? But I imagine going through the slideshow, a lot of the inside stuff looks identical. It looks like they've expanded their outdoor capabilities quite a bit, but it's grand.
Yeah, it just occurred to me when I put this up here. It's like Ulfik Unfwished. I'm like, there's a post office there. It's like, wow, that's one heck of a pub.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a little different than I was there, but I'm not surprised, honestly. I can see why it draws all the people from Europe and everything, because it's different. It's different in that place. And if you want that little bit of home, then this is the place to go. And it didn't look like this when I was there all those years ago. So we did watch rugby while we were there, though, and it was fun, and I understood as much about rugby now as I did then, which is none. I don't know what rugby. I don't understand the rules of the game, but everybody was cheering and we drank a lot, so it was a fun game.
Well, then you fit in quite well. Yeah, I like it when I go when I go back to visit Ireland. I like to watch soccer, aka football, in the pubs there, and that's always loads of fun. I was once there during the Euros, and it's always a blast. So yeah, so this picture here looks like perhaps that's the way it was. What you recall?
Oops, what happened? Here we go. Oh yeah, here I shared a pic. But yeah, it was just it wasn't this giant thing when we were there. At least it didn't get the impression that it was. And so yeah, we were there in 2007, like I said, so it was a minute ago, and it was kind of fun because I was attached to a Navy squadron, like I was for all of my career at that time, but we had two detachments from two different ships from that squadron who were there in Dubai at the same time, and we all went to the Irish Village, and this just giant mess of humanity was the result. And the young man on the far left of the in the green shirt, that would be me smoking a cigar and raising a glass in my much younger days. So
Oh my goodness. Yeah, there you are. Wow, and that is quite a crowd. They
a bunch of sailors doing sailor stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, our debts had about it's about 20 guys each, pilots, air crew, and maintainers included. So that's just all that.
Yeah.
But it was a hoot. It was just such a fun time there. And if I ever happen to be in the region again, I would definitely go back, and I do recommend it to any travelers to Dubai, just so you can get that experience over there.
Oh, well, there you are. So if you happen to be in Dubai, kids, just go ahead and find this Irish village. Though I think it's a lot closer to just go to Ireland for us. Hop
For most
over to
people, yes, that is probably the case.
yeah, hop
And
over
you don't
to
have to worry about stepping outside, and it's going to be 120 degrees. So
oh, yes, you certainly
it's a
won't get
different
that
experience.
in Ireland. I always say, though, if you go, you have to go to Cork, the real Ireland, the rebel country. So,
See,
uh
I've never been over I mean, my wife and I both have roots in the region, Misses of the Empire and myself. And so I'm a mutt. I'm a mixed bag. I'm Sicilian and Irish. So
wow.
I like to drink and fight and cook. So I have all of those things. It's nice. It's nice.
Oh, well, lovely. Well, cool. Well, and I've been uh, saying hello to the people here. Yeah, since I don't show my face, when I that's me waving at you all when I when I put up your things. So thank you all that are here and all that will be here in the replay. Well, wow. Well, and here at Miss Martin Muses on our pub crawl, the hosts, or rather the guests, get to choose the topic. And as we were brainstorming, we kind of came up, well, let's talk in general about our favorite TV shows, because you mentioned one particularly, and
Yeah,
of course there's
my current watching is what I mentioned. I was like, because it's I try to stay up on the modern world as much as I can. I'm 167 years old, so sometimes I get lost in the flow of modern time. And my the family of the Empire is currently watching a show on Amazon called Loudermilk,
Mhm.
and it's about a music critic who has a serious drinking problem. He has a DUI, almost kills his wife, and now runs a support group. And it's that kind. But it's a comedy with dramatic moments. It's not a dramedy by any stretch.
Mhm.
It's a comedy that has dramatic bits in it.
Mhm.
Um, and it's Ron, Ron Livingston from Office Space is in it, and it was so fun. A lot of good music stuff, a lot of good messaging, even. Every now and then they gotta pick at you, with the message, not messaging, but the message. But
Mhm.
it wasn't terrible. And seasons 1 and 2 are definitely worth watching. But then we had season 3, and we were talking in the green room, and it's like, and we had to stop watching because there was no longer the peppering of the message. It was the message. And it was like,
Ugh.
no. And the writers had obviously changed, and just the whole vibe of the show changed. So it was like, nah, let's get rid of this. So favorite television shows is a lot better than the current watches, because current watches are so unreliable. They start
Yeah,
off fun, and then you end up on fire outside, wondering what happened. Just
yeah. Well,
no fun.
I've heard it said that seasons one of a lot of these shows are always really good, and they don't have any of that garbage because they want to bring people in. And then once they have
Right
people watching, it seems like then they're like, okay, now let's just hammer
now
them
we can do
home.
it.
Yes, it's really
No,
obnoxious. Ugh.
it's unfortunate, and it's definitely unfair to the audience who you hook with this great premise of a show,
Mhm,
and then it derails. I mean, a lot of shows, they don't derail until later seasons. You have several good seasons, like X Files. Well, I could
mhm.
throw X Files out there, and I could throw them on the fire for this. The first 3 seasons of X Files.
Mhm.
are gold. They're just so good. Then I think it was season 4 and no no Zax. No. No. Um
Yeah.
Ahsoka is not on that's on the list of current viewing, and that's for content only. I need to make that clear. When Duchovny left X Files, it changed the dynamic of the show, and then he came back, and then she left, and then for a while you had neither of them on the show. You had Robert Patrick, the guy from Terminator 2, and some other lady on the show, and then it was just like gone. And then they brought it back, not even terribly long ago. I think it's season 10 that's out there that had like a couple of good episodes, but it's memories of X Files are better than the reality of X Files. I don't know if I don't know how you
Yeah,
feel
that
about X
makes
Files.
sense.
It's
Yeah,
like it
well,
should have been so good.
y I personally have never watched The X-Files, though,
Wait,
my
what?
oh, I know, I'm a terrible person. I've gotten
I don't even understand where you're going here.
well, I've just never watched it, but I've
I
been
don't know
told
that
to
you're
watch.
saying words. I don't know what they mean. Wow. No, I that's wow.
I
Wow.
know, and that's usually the kind of stuff I do watch. I can tell you, I think what happened was because I was at university and I didn't really watch much of anything, of
Ah.
new, then just watched all the Jane Austen adaptations. Remember when it was like every year there were like 3 or 4 Jane Austen movies or TV
So
shows
you
that were
mean
coming
like
out?
Pride and Prejudice and Zombies?
Well, I did watch that one, but, you had Pride and Prejudice, you had Sense and
That would be the
Sensibility,
only
Persuasion, yeah,
Jane that'd be the only Jane Austen adaptation that I have ever seen, and granted, that was a loose adaptation.
yes. Well, speaking of which, since we are in a pub, though not necessarily Irish pub, what are you mixing up here?
So I am making Palermo, which I'm probably getting wrong, and Misses of the Empire just told me the name of this damn drink. And what it is grapefruit juice, tequila, lime, salt, which I forgot to bring out because I'm an idiot, and just a little bit of grenadine. And it makes a very delightful, make very good drink. And Mrs. of the Empire is the one who discovered this. If I have a clever drink in my repertoire, Mrs. of the Empire is probably the one that discovered it. And funny thing about this is she's not a drinker. So she's like, honey, I think this one looks interesting. Why don't you give it a try? And
Mhm.
I do, and she'll have a sip. She'll go, oh, that one's good, or oh, don't make that one anymore. So, um, yeah, a couple of things I'm going to mix up tonight, and so there you have it.
Ooh, pretty.
Tequila, grapefruit juice, a little bit of grenadine. Oh, the lime. Can't forget the lime. Oh,
I was
I
about
squeezed.
ready
I
to
did. I
say,
squeezed in the
yeah.
lime. I squeezed in the lime. I squeezed in the lime. You don't want to go too heavy with the lime. And the salt is more I don't do the garnish around the glass with the salt on this. It's not a margarita. So don't make a margarita. It's not that. I put the salt on the ice on top so that it just keeps coming while I'm drinking it. And it's a wonderful beverage.
Oh, well, there
So
you are. Well, cheers. I've got my water here. So, well, I'll tell you, mixology, it's like chemistry because I'm a
it
mixologist,
is.
believe it or not, and it's loads of fun. You mix them and you find all the different flavors and all the different garnishes and the different quality of liquors. There's
Well,
well, there's
that's a thing because man, tequila. I just recently started drinking the better tequilas. Um Cuervo should not be in your cupboard. If it is, go get it, grab the bottle, and throw it away. And or actually, you should probably empty it first. That way, some other poor person doesn't end up having to consume that. Cuervo is not good. Um, any tequila that really, and this is one of those things. It's funny if the fish tastes fishy, it's not good. If
mhm,
tequila smells like tequila, it's probably not good. It
correct.
should be just really light. But you should still get that little agave punch when you're drinking, but it shouldn't be like, "Brr," I'm drinking out of a urinal in Tijuana. So
Yeah. And of course, gins, well, you can get the really garbage ones and Bombay Sapphire is a very good one, very high quality.
Yeah, actually,
Tanqueray.
you'll find this surprising. That's actually sitting next to me on my left right now. I
Ah,
have a bottle of that'll be for my next drink.
no.
Um, some of the small batch gins are fantastic. There's one that comes out of Colorado. Oh, I wish I could remember the name of the distillery, but it was and because gins, much like tequila, if it's good enough, you
Mhm.
can just drink it. Maybe neat, maybe with a little ice. You don't need the mixer. You shouldn't need the mixer. Every alcohol you drink should be that good. If it requires the mixer, then it's like, but you do want your midlines. Your midlines are nice. Like I'm drinking, where'd my tequila go?
Yeah,
Someone stole the
like
tequila.
bathtub gin, that's what you need to mix with,
Yeah.
all
So I'm
sorts
drinking
of stuff.
it's 818. It's not inexpensive, but it's not like, oh my God, expensive. It's a nice midline. That's good for mixing.
Mhm.
So save the good stuff for just drinking with maybe a splash of lime.
Sure. Oh, Ancient One has a nice introduction for you. He's a retired naval master chief who offers perspective on various media with a bit of humor. Check out Roman of the Empire. Yay. Yeah,
Thank
Ancient
you,
One,
ancient one.
yeah, gives great intros. And of course he calls me the Miss Martin's Castle of Roses. So there we are. Well, okay. Well, and
Mm.
I think it's interesting what you said. There's something about season 3 where a lot of these shows have gone off the rails. I really liked Ted Lasso. I thought that had a fantastic first season.
I'm not
Pretty
familiar
good.
with Ted Lasso.
Sorry.
I don't know that one.
Ah, okay. Yeah, but the second season was kind of good, and then third season just again dove off
Oh,
into the deep end, and not even necessarily the woke stuff, though that was more obvious. It was just bad writing.
bad.
Yeah, just bad writing. And so, I always like to say that I like season 1 of Ted Lasso, but the rest, as far as these are, of course, as far as the new ones. But one of the most magnificent ones for me that was perfection from beginning to end and landed the ending was Manifest. I don't know if you watched that show.
Mm-mm.
Oh, yeah, about the
Yeah,
airplane
not
and the
familiar with
mystery.
that.
So if you any of you do want to see a show that actually has a white male lead, positive role model, Christian family man father heading the show, as well as natural diversity because it's set in modern day New York, and they ended it well because a lot of these kind of mystery shows like Lost,
Right.
they didn't land the ending,
Jeez.
but this one landed the ending. So Lost, were you a fan of Lost for a
I
while?
never finished Lost, and I'm glad I didn't finish it. Because I've heard, all the man, what a disappointment that was.
Hmm.
So funny thing about Lost though, so J.J. Abrams, who has transformed into the devil in the creative spheres, he did something good. I mean, Lost actually, the beginning of Lost and the first
Hmm.
bit of it was fascinating. It was really good. But he did a show called Fringe, and I don't know
Ah,
if you watched Fringe.
yeah, it had the Denethor from it, right? From
Yes,
Lord of the Rings.
yes. And uh, so it's about it was after the X Files. It was after the X Files, and you had these peculiar events that started taking place, and the FBI gets involved, and there's Lance Reddick, the late Lance Reddick, is in it. The actress who plays Olivia Dunham, Australian lady, she's been in a bunch of things. Joshua Jackson plays Peter Bishop. Walter Bishop is his father. Is John
Noble.
Noble. John Noble is the actor who played Denethor as well in Lord of the Rings, of course. And it's such a fun show, and it's 5 seasons,
Hmm.
but it's 5 very different seasons. Every season, something changes, and the entire vibe of the show changes around that. And the last season is completely different than all the seasons before it. But bits of the seasons are necessary for the plot to move forward, and it works. It worked out really nicely, and it had a great opening and closing. So not everybody appreciates it.
Hmm.
But I think it's one of the great science fiction series probably ever.
Hmm.
because of what they do with their characters. And their characters, um, Walter Bishop is one of my favorite science fiction characters ever. He's a scientist. He's a brilliant scientist who has had well, I don't want to spoil it. His mind isn't what it used to be for a lot of different reasons. And so he remembers bits and pieces of things he needs to do to solve these mysteries, or to help solve the mysteries anyway, or at least bits and pieces.
Hmm.
And but he starts off as a very gruff character, but his strangeness, his idiosyncrasies, make him ultimately a very lovable character. And I just he I there's on Spotify, there's something called Walter Bishop's playlist. He's very into music, and I that's one of my favorite things to play in the kitchen when I'm cooking in the morning.
Hmm. Okay. Well, cool. Yeah. So everyone, yeah, if you haven't watched Fringe, go ahead and do it. It definitely was unique. My parents loved it. They absolutely
Hmm.
loved it. They loved watching that. Uh, they're- gosh, that was a good one. And well, if we want to dip into sci-fi, Babylon 5, I recently watched that. I
Oh,
loved it.
Babylon 5 was wonderful. I didn't care for the spin-off stuff post Babylon 5. I like the
Mhm.
series Prime best. It's funny, Babylon 5. So I just an associated story. My daughter, the middle daughter of the empire, as we call her,
Mhm.
she was like 3 years old when Babylon 5 was on, and this was kind of when it was in rerun or in syndication on Turner. Was it TNT?
Probably.
I think. So I was working nights at the time, but I would get up with her and we would watch an episode a day of Babylon 5. And she loved Lon, just like everyone else. She loved Londo and Chikar.
Oh,
she
everyone did. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, the relationship between those two, and those two actors were just brilliant. And
Mhm.
it's funny because you get Veer, who was Flounder in Animal House. If anybody recognizes that, Stephen First, the actor. Um, there was a lot of. I mean, Babylon 5 is the better version of Deep Space Nine.
Fighting words. Well, there's still the debate about who was first. Was it Babylon 5 that stole
Mhm.
from DS9, or did DS9 steal from Babylon 5 from the idea? Yeah. No. I loved Babylon 5. I watched it when it came out on Max. Now they call it Match, HBO
Okay.
Max,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
2
Yeah.
years ago. That was when I saw it and watched it. I loved Bruce Boxleitner. Oh my goodness, I love him so much.
Hmm.
So he was great. And I liked the way that they brought it to end. I didn't even bother watching the spin-offs because I heard they didn't complete them.
Yeah, you're just kind of left holding the bag. It's like we talked about this before, the series that don't really finish. The spinoffs like kind of started moving, and then like, and you're like, oh, okay, that was just a complete waste of time.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, that's the way these things end up sometimes, though.
Yeah.
Um, what's like brain Deadwood? Did you ever watch Deadwood,
No, but I've
the
been
HBO
told to.
series? Okay, I agree mostly. um, it is a 98% good show, but that last 2% is a bit of a letdown. And then they did the movie, which actually didn't do anything to improve or fix the ending of Deadwood. So which
Mhm.
was unfortunate. Um, and Deadwood, the ironic thing is Deadwood, which I loved, got canceled because of one of my other favorite shows, which was Rome on HBO.
Ah, I loved Rome. Now, Rome, that was like
Oh,
one of the first really earthy, gritty, really graphic sex kind of shows. Like,
too much of the graphic sex, and that's a lot of. And so there's a lot that can be left to the imagination, and for reasons that HBO, it got ratings, so I'm sure that's
mhm,
probably the reason they did it. Um, it makes what could be a really good show overall. That's like the problem area, that if you're trying to watch it with anyone in your family who like isn't your spouse, you're fast forwarding through those spots like, oh, no, 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 and then you can move on with the killing, which is
yeah.
fine. But I love, of course, Lucius Varenus and Titus Pullo. they're the everymen in this story who you see Rome unfold through Julius Caesar into from Octavian Augustus, and they're actually based on those, that much. It's that much. They plucked those from Julius Caesar's writing about those two men, Titus Pullo and Lucius Rhenus, existed. Did they exist in this way? Absolutely not.
No.
And of course, there's so many embellishments. But oh my God, the performances in this show, Mark Antony he's just brilliant.
See, James Purefoy.
Oh,
That was
oh,
when
he
I
was
fell in love
so
with that man.
good.
My sister and I
His
still use the quote when he's like, "I'm not getting out of this bed until I've blanked
yeah.
somebody."
Well, I love the scene when he's with Atia and she's trying to talk him into not going to save Caesar. And he just stops. He's like, I forget what a wicked old hoppy you are. And she smacks him, he smacks her back. Relationship unfolds or unhinges, and then he
Yeah.
goes to rescue Caesar. But there are so many good all and you think of a bad performance in that show, and I don't think it exists. Um, all the way, down to the slaves. There's just so many layers to the show. And it's only 2 seasons. Unfortunately, the budget was just so big, HBO couldn't keep it going.
Mhm.
But I thought they ended it as well as they could. It wasn't like a fantastic ending, but it was at least a fairly
It-
satisfying ending. It wasn't like Deadwood. I have to warn you
No.
about that.
I was glad that they brought it to the end with the whole Cleopatra and
Mhm.
Mark Antony thing and Caesar and all that. So they hit the beat. So I wasn't
They
disappointed
did.
at all with the ending. Um so out of all the shows with all the decadence, so if you know what I mean, those kind of scenes,
Yes.
I can tolerate it probably most from Rome because that's how it really was. I mean, it really was just
Yeah.
very much like that,
Yeah.
and I think since it was the first, it didn't come across as gratuitous, and then it was like, then everyone had to do it, and of
Well,
course,
then you
Game
hit
of
the Game of
Thrones made it
Thrones. Game of
worse.
Thrones level of the gratuitous sex was like next level gratuitous sex.
It was
Um,
ridiculous.
and that was difficult to like again. It's like get through it. HBO overall, I mean they're really just one of the groundbreakers as far as I mean it's like streaming before there was streaming.
Mhm.
Um, Sopranos.
Mm,
I can't not you can't talk about HBO and not talk about Sopranos,
sure.
which was mostly good. Um, the last season is a bit difficult to get through. Um, they had the Tony. Why Tony Soprano was such an enjoyable character is because despite being a repugnant human, he was still likable, which was weird.
Yeah.
Then in
Anti-hero.
that last season, they changed that dynamic, and he became a very unlikable character,
Ooh.
which made the show I don't say unbearable, but it was definitely more of a labor to watch than it had when you're rooting for Tony and and Polly and all the rest of the crew. As soon as you made the character unlikable, it's like, oh
Yeah.
dear, which
Yeah.
was unfortunate because, like I said, it was a generally speaking a very good run, but that last season for me was
Mm.
a mixed bag at best. In
What'd
the
you
ending,
what'd you think of that? Yeah, I was about ready to say that whole ultimate fade to black.
I think it was a coward's way out for the
Hmm.
writers. It leaves it up to the audience to figure out what happened. I don't like that. That it's the ambiguous. Well, maybe it's the Schrodinger's soprano. Maybe he's alive, maybe he's dead. You don't know. I didn't like that. I would have preferred even if you'd seen guns come out and shots going off and the screen fades to black and you never really even see it. I think that would have been a better ending than just kind of the weird vibe building and then
Mhm.
going to black. That's a personal preference. Um, I didn't prefer it.
Yeah. I never watched that show because by that point in my life, I had made the decision that I was going to wait until I heard from reliable people that the ending happened. First of all, that it wasn't going to be canceled because I was so sick of shows being
No,
canceled,
no, yeah, invest
and
your
then
time and
that
then it's
it
over. Yeah,
ended, and then that it ended well. And after the big outcry that from that finale, I said, I don't want to do that to myself. So,
I think it's still worth the watch. I do,
mhm.
um, because all the other material is so good that when you finally do get to that ambiguous point, I know the writer.
Everybody
Nope,
Google.
it's not there. It's not there. I had to make room for something else clearly, so I moved it out. Said that he actually, and he tells you what he intended with that ending. Um, but again, like I said, I would have rather had a. It didn't even need to be super explicit, but you do get you get the idea of what's going on, or
Sure.
whatever. Like I said, I think it was kind of a coward's way out for the word because he didn't want to piss people off, so he left it ambiguous.
Yeah. Well, speaking of those kind of shows, what did you think of Breaking Bad? Did you watch Breaking Bad?
I liked Breaking Bad. I liked Breaking Bad a great deal, and but you did. I don't think you really ended up with the same problem with Walter that you did with Tony. And granted, different networks.
Mhm.
Um, but the fall and rise and fall of Walter White is a just a wonderful story arc. Um, and funny thing is, I never liked Pinkman. I still I from beginning to end, and and for those of you that didn't watch Breaking Bad, don't watch that awful movie. What is the El Camino? Don't watch El Camino. You're not good. You're not getting more Breaking Bad out of that. All you're getting is one of the actors, because it took place, they actually filmed it years later, has plumped up a great deal and no one looks like they're supposed to because it's weird and it's supposed to take place during a certain time period, but it just it doesn't work. But the show Breaking Bad was, I thought, just wonderful. And again, the cast was just, there's not a bad player in the mix. Oop, I'm seeing to
Yeah.
make sure Mrs. Empire is coming out to tell me I need to do something because she'll wander over here. I'll see her pale face over here looking at me in the dark like a vampire. Like, oh, okay, I gotta do something, but it looks like we're okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it was
oh
Shakespearean, wasn't it? The whole
yes,
Breaking Bad thing. Yeah.
yeah, and actually, it's funny you say that. So like Succession, which was on HBO recently. I don't know if you watched that.
I have not.
So that is more of a drama that has comedy elements, kind of the opposite of the louder milk that you were talking about earlier. That is also very much a Shakespearean drama, the way that it's written, and I love it when you're telling the modern story, but you're using the classic elements of tragedy, which is what kind of what your best things are the tragedies, and bringing those elements forward. And that's a good writing team. That's something, that's those are the guys who actually studied and did work and uh, don't just throw stuff at the wall to see what sticks. Hey, this might be fun. They stick to something that works, and you can put the characters in these bizarre and even ridiculous situations. Breaking Bad is a great example of that. He's a chemistry teacher who should have been one of the great billionaires because he was working there was another dude, but things didn't work out, and then he gets cancer, and then he becomes a meth chemist to make money for his family, and he's the best because he's a chemist. It's just, the premise is absurd, but the
Hmm.
story arc is just amazing. Because Walter White is a tragic character, and
Yeah.
he's got his prince, his son, and his queen, his wife, and the baby daughter who is just pretty much a baby. But all the characters around that, Hank is a great character, um, because it's Hank is the good guy, but you're rooting against him for most of the show, which is hilarious.
Yeah. Well, no one that says I guess that they did their job. Though I'm kind of giggling because you're like a chemistry teacher that's really good at mixing meth and stuff, and that's kind of a bit absurd. I'm like, obviously you've not been around a lot of teachers. It's
True,
wild
true.
out there, but no, I mean, of course, the whole thing where he becomes this big drug king, yeah, and I'm only half teasing, but there's some wild stuff that happens. I've always wanted in Harry Potter. It's like forget what's going on with Hermione and Harry and all them. Let's see what's going on with McGonagall and all the others back wherever the teachers are hanging out.
Now that's something I'm not looking forward to. They're doing a Harry Potter show.
Oh, I hate it with
And
every fiber
as
of my
soon as
being.
I heard this, yeah, parts of my brain started exploding. It's like the movies are near perfection. They're so well done. And I didn't read the books, and I have to admit that now. So I didn't read the books. So you can throw fruit at me later because I didn't
No,
read the
that's
books.
all right.
But I enjoyed the films for what they were. I thought they were very well done. Even as old and grumpy and black-hearted as I am, I thought they were a very good time. Um, so the idea of monkeying with that world that was created painstakingly over a decade, I
Yeah.
find problematic at best. It's like, oh,
It was an incredible achievement, the fact that we were able to see those kids grow up and that
mhm.
we kept the same cast. We had Alan Rickman, who was perfection,
Yes,
in my opinion, as Snape. The casting was near perfection, and the only change that happened was because of the untimely death of Richard Harris, and they did a
which yeah.
great job recasting him.
No, the recasting was good. They did a nice job with it because you didn't focus on it too much. Um,
Mhm,
I think if they had cast someone different, someone who you were really, really familiar with after Richard Harris had passed, it would have been more of a problem. But the actor
mhm.
whose name is escaping me, um, he wasn't someone who I knew immediately. So it's like, okay, that this is
Michael
that's, and I think
Gambon.
that's why it worked well. I think
Mhm,
if you'd thrown someone else in there, like I said, a big name, it would have
mhm.
focused on that a lot more than it did. So I think they did a nice job with a bad situation, and it worked, and it worked well.
Yes. Well, of course, I know him because he's in what I call bonnet movies and TV shows. They got Masterpiece Theater, you'll find him on Jane Austen adaptations and all of
Ah,
that.
very well.
They
Okay,
get to
got
have
it.
get a yeah, get in a bonnet movie, because they always, you know, uh,
Yes,
uh,
yes.
so, Glenn Beck, radio personality, actually was the
I
one who
yeah.
termed that, and I'm like,
Okay.
that's that's it. That's exactly what those movies are. And, you see them,
Wow.
and I love those, and, yeah, Michael Gambon, that's how I knew him
Okay.
from that, but, yeah, but a lot of those, they're Shakespearean, trained actors, and, everything you said about that is exactly right, and you had the score from, John Williams, you had the sets, I mean, everything was fine, and we've got the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in the Universal Studios for crying out
Yes.
loud, and I'm
And I've
also
never I've
ha
never been to that, unfortunately.
yeah, I've
Um,
been to the first part of it, I haven't been to the when they expanded it, but
uh,
yeah, it's just so amazing. The only reason why I imagine they're wanting to do this for the TV show. I think we can all know the reason
hmm,
why. I mean,
what could it possibly be?
what could
That's
it
a
possibly
fascinating
be?
question.
And
So,
and I know what they're gonna
oh,
do with this show.
yeah, everything that I hate about modern television is what they're going to do to Harry Potter as the unfortunate
Mhm,
reality of it. Um, it's hard to escape in modern entertainment. Like I said, every now and then something comes along and it doesn't beat you over the face with it.
mhm.
Silo. Did you watch Silo? Have you heard of Silo?
I've heard of it, I have not watched it.
It was really good. Um, season one. There's only one season right now. There is a season two in work. It's based. There's a trilogy of books, which I'm hoping they will stick to that format and finish it when the book's finished and let it be done. Um, but season one of Silo was very very well done. Science fiction. The premise is these people, the world above is dead for reasons no one knows what they are. And they've been living in this silo for as long as anyone can remember. It's an entire underground society, and the one big rule is you can never say that you want to go outside because they will force you to go outside, and there's a whole bunch of things that go along with that. Um, but it's a fascinating series to watch. So it's one of the few things in the modern world that I really did enjoy. Um,
Oh,
Justified, and I know Corey is watching, and that's a series that I loved a lot. I don't know if you with Timothy Oliphant. Did you ever watch that?
no, I did not. Yeah, I
Justified was really good.
okay, there we go. Um, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a U.S. Marshal Raylan Givens is assigned down in Miami. Things go awry, and he's sent back to his home, basically where he grew up, Harlan, Kentucky. And he's like, I don't want to go back there. And then you get like 6 seasons out of this, and it's the character of Boyd Crowder, played by Walton Goggins, is brilliant. The relationship, the friend foe relationship between the main protagonist and antagonist is very very well written. Um, and that's one of those shows that again has a very good beginning and a very good ending. They closed it out nicely, but then they had to poison the well, and this year they released Justified City Prime Evil, which takes Raylan and puts him in Detroit for I think 8 episodes. We stopped at episode 3.
Oh my.
Episode 1
That's
was bad. Episode 2 was okay. So episode 3 was the coin flip. If it's good, we continue. If it's bad, we stop. Well, we stopped. So the original series is great. It's a complete story, and you close out and you're very satisfied with the ending. I don't know why they felt. I do. I'm saying, why did they stick their toe back in the pond? Because they wanted to recapture that magic, but they didn't. The
no.
main character is no longer the character you fell in love with on that show. He's off doing things that character would never do. And of course, it's not even just peppered with the message. It is like, and
Oh,
we're like,
BD.
no. So, Jacob Ironside, brilliant show tonight, my friend. Jacob did a show on Young Frankenstein tonight, which is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
Uh, and I thank God they haven't made a series or a remake of that. So
Oh no. Oh, they probably couldn't. I mean,
please don't,
so much
please
of Mel
don't.
Brooks it would never.
No. Well, Mel Brooks crapped in his own lawn too, though. History of the World. History of the World Part 1 is hilarious. It's inappropriate, it's irreverent, and it's also hilarious. They made a Part 2, and Part 2, they just did it, is everything you would expect from a show in the modern era. It's
Yeah.
it's all of the things.
I didn't watch it.
And no, I didn't either. I watched enough to know I didn't want to watch it. Well, how can you judge a thing without watching? It's like, if you trust people and they say this is a bad thing, you can pretty much go along with that. I'm not relying on someone who I don't know, who's a distant, you know, someone I've never met in the real world or even in this venue, telling me, yeah, that's a fantastic. They're really hitting modern topics in a historical way. It's fantastic. I know what they did. I know what they did to it, and it's sad. And I wish Mel Brooks had stopped making movies. I don't even know the last good Mel Brooks film. People will say Spaceballs. I didn't like Spaceballs. You can throw a throat at me later. I know I didn't like Spaceballs. I didn't enjoy it. But that to me was the beginning of the to Men with Tights, then Dracula Dead and Loving It, and then
Yeah.
I think that was kind of it.
Well, and there's a part of me that even wonders how much he had to do with this most recent
Oh, the
one.
new one?
The
Probably
dude's
not a
like
lot.
the dude's
Uh,
he's in his mid
he's
90s.
ancient. Yes.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
not yeah. But I know what you mean. Uh, the Men in Tights grew on me over
Really?
time, but
Oh
when I
my.
first
I'm
saw
impressed.
it, I thought it was kind of I didn't laugh. I went to see it with a bunch of friends and I was just like,
That's
this
not
isn't
funny.
funny.
That's not funny at all.
Yeah, but you know, it's grown on me. Maybe it's because the more things suck, the more you look back and start to appreciate.
I don't know. I don't know. Oh, you mean just in the modern era in general? That
Yeah.
yes, I do understand what you're saying there. I'm making my second beverage of the evening right now.
So
So
what are you making there?
so right now I am making, it's called a foghorn. Its foundation is ginger beer. This is an Australian one. I recommend it, but you can buy whatever kind of ginger beer you want, of course. And gin, I am using the Bombay Sapphire,
Uh-huh.
um, which is a very decent gin. Um, it's you can't you can't really drink this one on its own, which is the it's a mid tier gin. It's but it's that's fine. That's like Jameson's to me is a mid tier Irish whiskey. I
Yeah.
don't no I don't have the Schwartz. The Schwartz is not with me.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
Jim said I'd like to drink it, or back in the day when I drank, I used to drink it with, what do you call it? Uh, Ginger ale. It was a cocktail
okay,
that you get in Ireland. You call it Jim and Ginger, where you get ginger ale and a lime with Jameson. It's really really good.
so
Um,
this is not a dissimilar. So this is the ginger beer, gin, squeeze of lime, ice, and that's it. It's a wonderful beverage.
okay, and how much gin do you put in?
How much gin do I put in, or how much gin do regular people put in?
Well, okay. Well, usually let's say like 2 ounces, 4 ounces.
No, well, I'm a 2 ounce man. When I'm making beverages and measuring, I don't actually measure when I'm making them for myself. I'm like, that looks like enough space to add enough gin, and then I just kind of pour away. You want to be. That's the thing about these drinks. Depending on your palate, like I like to taste the alcohol beverage that's mixed into these things. I don't want it to be overwhelming, but I want to taste it. Some people don't
Hmm.
want to taste it at all. If that's your deal, then you probably want more like an ounce and a half when you're doing your mix.
Hmm.
Um, and then lime is really to taste though, depending on how much you enjoy lime. So it's and mixology is definitely more of an art than a science, but it's you got to have the basic ingredients, and if you have too much of one and too little of another, the drink does come out like ass, or it doesn't, or it just tastes like a fruit beverage, or it tastes like ginger beer. So you lose out on why you're mixing it in the first place.
Hmm. Okay. I think that's interesting that you say that you don't really, you rather, about the Bombay Sapphire gin, don't drink it
Uh,
on its own, because I would drink martinis with Bombay Sapphire. I would have it straight up and with a lime twist.
yeah,
But
my taste in gin, like I said, I'm a small batch gin, and again, I wish I could remember the Colorado distillery where it came from. That really spoiled me on gin. The aromatics were just so delightful, and it was just such a palatable difference from your standard gin. Now, I wouldn't, and I'm not saying anything bad against the Bombay Sapphire, because I wouldn't go below Bombay Sapphire. It's like I in Jameson, I don't go below Jameson when I'm doing my whiskey. It's a good GP
mhm,
thing, although Jameson I can just drink.
mhm,
Um, it is. I mean, everybody's palate is different though. That's one of the
sure.
nice things about this. Like same thing about the shows that we're watching. It's not a dissimilar thing. Some people love things for reasons, and some people dislike them or despise them even for other reasons.
Mhm.
Star Wars, but I don't want to even talk about any of that tonight
Yeah.
because that's
Yeah,
a
there are no
I gotta
Star
watch
Wars
that
TV
after we're done
shows. Yeah.
tonight, and I'm already dreading it.
Yeah. Um, no, no, that makes sense. Well, I was taught when I was being going at mixology school or whatever you want to call it, doing the course, that the best way to have a drink is the way, or to make up a drink is the way your client wants it. And so
yes,
even if you think, well, I wouldn't do that, but if that's what
right.
they want, yeah,
No, I
and
mix differently when I have company than I mix for myself. Um,
mhm,
but I mean, I'm not. I don't want to be hypocritical because I'm the same way in the kitchen though. When I'm making a dish, um, be it an Italian dish, which is my primary things that I cook, or if I'm delving into Mexican, Russian, whatever, I take a base recipe that some of them I've known for so long, I don't even have to look at them to know what the base recipe was anymore. And then I do whatever I want to do with it. It's like, okay, I need this, this, and this, but we can add this, we can add a lot more of this, we can change this up. So you have the foundational thing, but then you make it your thing. And that's the way, I mean, I think mixology is not a different thing. I think that's
mhm,
why, some bartenders are very good and other bartenders are bartenders.
correct. Yeah. And well, when you say you don't usually go below Bombay Sapphire, I would go with Beefeaters. I would have that with my tonic. So I would have beefeaters and tonic, and then Bombay Sapphire with the martinis. I also like liked what was it? It was a Scottish one, with cucumbers. What was that called? Oh, dag nabbit. Had a cucumber essence to
Oh, I
it.
don't know.
Let me look that up because
It
well,
sounds light and delightful.
it is.
Cucumber. It's funny. People don't think of cucumbers working in these things. They do. Cucumbers are they're more than just a salad item. Um,
Yeah,
or the adult cousin of the pickle. They're the cucumber does a lot. It's useful. Cucumber and
yeah,
mint together are actually very good.
yeah. Let me see if Hendrix gin. That's what it's called.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm a huge snob, so I get accused of it quite frequently. I stick with you know England and Britain. They were the ones who knew their gin. So I usually only
Yes.
drink theirs. So I never went outside those countries for the gin. So when you said Colorado gin, I'm like, there's
It's
such
really
a
good.
thing.
No, it's funny. I mean, the small batch stuff though, I mean, that's you're talking very niche stuff. So it's just you can't just say well, it's Colorado, like bourbon that doesn't come from Kentucky. You can have very good bourbons though that are small batches from wherever, whatever this magic distiller is, and they're also usually fairly expensive, which is why they're
Mhm.
good. I mean,
Yeah,
you can't charge a lot of money for something that's crap unless you're very wealthy and people just want the name attached to it. So,
yeah, for sure. Well, speaking of, mixed drinks and all that, we haven't talked a lot about comedies. Are there any
mm.
comedies?
So this is a topic. It's funny because we joke about this in the show a lot. I generally speaking, I have to say generally because it's not a that broad a stroke. I don't like comedies.
Hmm.
Don't hit me with fruit. I watched if I had to say the best comedy on television that I ever watched all the way through was Seinfeld. I loved
Uh
Seinfeld.
huh.
Um, but I can't say the same of like something like Friends. I didn't like Friends. Um, and I don't know. I can't. I'm trying to think of even a modern comedy, but I can't think of a modern comedy.
Yeah, because
I
in
don't.
general they're not funny. Well, Ted
They're
Lasso was
not.
good till they crapped the bed.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. Well, when I said mixed drinks, because I was thinking one of my favorites that I kind of grew up with was Cheers.
Mm,
The '80s comedies.
mhm.
There was
No,
Cheers was.
I would watch Cheers. But I would watch a lot of things like MASH, Happy Days.
Mhm.
I people are gonna hate me. I don't really like any of them.
I
Um,
understand.
I just don't. It wasn't really my thing. Seinfeld was different in the writing, because it was such a the show about nothing, because it was humor found in kind of everyday things. They didn't have to
Mhm.
create, although sometimes they did, the bizarre scenarios. But most of the humor was taken from, just kind of your everyday experiences and tweaked enough to make it, to bring the comedy level up. Um, and the exchanges between the characters were just so natural, except for Kramer, of course. But everybody has a Kramer in their life. Matt the drummer is the Kramer in my life. My daughter, however, thinks I'm a lot like Costanza, which I find mildly offensive, but that's all right. That's fine.
Mhm.
The middle daughter of the Empire, who I think is a lot like Elaine, which is probably more accurate than she would like to think. So you can relate with those characters. Everyone can find a character in Seinfeld. I think they can. Oh, that guy. Oh, that guy. Which is why I think that show worked so well. Whereas Happy Days, not everybody can be Richie or the Fonz, or even Howard, which I'm starting to feel more like Howard, I suppose, at this advanced age in my life. So comedies are what I do prefer are shows with comedic elements.
Mm.
Um, Rescue Me. I'll throw Rescue Me out there. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Oh, we're missing
Okay,
something.
well.
So Rescue Me was a post 9/11 firefighter show set in New York with Dennis Leary as the lead. It's a drama that has comedic elements.
Oh,
That's one of the few that I own the entire series of on disc, because I think it's that worthwhile. Um, when we were on cruise, that show got us through a lot of hard moments because we had some difficult times out there for reasons that I won't go into right now.
yeah.
But the relatability with the firefighters and things they encountered is not dissimilar in a lot of ways to what people on the job in the military do. So dramas with comedic elements are I find good. Um, I remember it's funny. You never watched The Sopranos? When they were advertising The Sopranos, when they were putting the promos on for it looked like a comedy, which was weird.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was Meadow and AJ talking about their dad being in the garbage business, but everybody knew he's a mobster. But the way the show was initially pitched to the audience, you're like, that's a funny topic. But it, of course, was not a comedy in any
Not
way.
at all.
Um,
No.
so it was just kind of like, wow, that's weird. Um, so yeah, but a show like Rescue Me, I think, and I highly recommend that show. That's top tier. That's like probably one of in my top 5 shows ever is
Wow.
Rescue Me.
Well, then maybe I need to look into that. I
Well,
again,
and
so
they're Catholic.
oh, well, there we
Yeah,
go. Good. No.
and they're Catholic. Tommy Gavin's a bad Catholic. He's got a cousin Mikey who's a priest who's in the show as well though. But I love that show so much.
Yeah. Well, I know it's a stereotype, but except that there is a lot of truth to it. Is that New York firefighter? They're Italian Catholic or Irish Catholic. I mean, there's something
Yeah.
about it.
Well,
It's
that's
just the way it
Northeast in
is.
general. You're probably Irish Catholic or Italian Catholic, or maybe a Polish guy. I mean, it's in certain regions in New England.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not such a mixed bag. New York, of course, it's a much larger thing. So you have crazy demographics, but certain professions within the city are what they are.
Hmm. Yes. Yeah. When you were talking about modern comedies, the only modern recent comedy that I've really liked has been Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which probably you don't like 'cause it's incredibly
I
silly.
haven't seen it, so I can't
Okay.
speak
Well,
on it.
it's incredibly ridiculous, silly, slapstick, but I'll tell you what, I laugh my butt off when I watch it. Uh, so, it's the only comedy that they've done in the last maybe 5 years, 10 years that actually genuinely has made me laugh. And I don't know if that's a commentary on my state of mind because it's ridiculous. I mean, it's just these stupid idiot people in this Brooklyn precinct. It's my mother thinks there's some she failed in raising me because I think it's that funny.
Oh
It's like
no.
it's like this is stupid. And I'm like, but maybe we just need a dose of stupid nowadays in our lives.
No, I can't. So, it's funny. So we're talking about television, and so the daughter of the empire, my oldest, she's special needs, and that's kind of neither here nor there. But the television watching that we have because of her during the day when she's up is either okay, and I can sit and I can watch it, or it's I want to stab my eyes out with ice picks. My
Yeah.
son, Jacob of the Empire, makes a joke. He's like, other people want to go back in time and kill Hitler. I want to go back in time and kill whoever invented Blue's Clues because
Oh.
that's one of her shows. And it's like, oh, and it's so bad. It's so bad. I hate the dog. I hate the guy.
You've
I
got a
hate the
letter.
song. I hate everything about Blue's Clues. It's the side table drawer. Ugh! It's so bad. It's so bad. It's so bad. It's my pulse is racing now because of it. Every time I hear that, da, 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 it's just parts of my brain start to just melt and decay. But she also likes Big Bang Theory. Um, and I can watch Big Bang Theory. There are parts of the show that I know kind of are what they are, but I can sit and watch it, and I think it's Sheldon for me is a pretty relatable character because
Mhm.
I have not I'm not a genius. I'm not that clever, but I do have a lot of the same unfortunate OCD idiosyncrasies, which my family likes to point out as much as they can. So at least there's that. Sorry, I thought I heard Mrs. of the Empire creeping up, but she did not.
Okay.
So those are like the only two things that are really on during the day. It's like, oh, so we have to wait till the daughter of the Empire goes to bed and she finishes her day, and then we can actually. I only get, and this is people are like, well, how come we don't watch more stuff? I really only get maybe an hour or two of viewing time in during the course of a day that I can watch what I want to watch. So it's pretty
Mhm.
tough.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, and, well, I'm assuming as far as genres go, Bonnet movies probably are not your thing. Do you watch miniseries or any of the mystery ones?
um, I like the what was it called? The ABCs of Murder. Hercule Poirot.
Oh, Hercule Poirot, the one with
Oh,
David Suchet, yes.
that was really well done. I enjoyed that. And I actually like the Agatha Christie films with him. It's they're not fantastic. With the director.
Oh, Kenneth Branagh, those are horrendous, and
Thank
we
you.
hate it more than life itself.
I can watch them. I don't despise them. There are things I despise. They're passable. The ABCs of Murder though was really good. If anybody has seen
Yeah,
that,
David T. Murder.
or
Yeah,
hasn't seen it,
that
I
one was
recommend that.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's one of my
that was a lot
favorite
of fun.
ones.
Like my favorite show, my favorite all-time show. Let's pull that off the top shelf here. Would be Star Trek, the original series,
Oh.
hands down. And I asked when I was asking Mr. the Empire because I forget things. She's like, "What would you say my favorite show?" She's like, "Oh, it's Star Trek. You know that." I'm like, "Thank you, honey, for confirming." But okay, good. Put that at the top of the list. That to me is because of what it not only what it was at the time, but what it continues to be and what it
Mhm.
has produced. And no, I'm not talking about you in the modern J.J. Abrams and
Yeah,
the new Trek on
Discovery and all
television.
that stupid stuff,
That
yeah.
is something that should be locked away, set on fire. A priest needs to come and exorcise the area, and then it needs to be set on fire again. That's how
Yeah.
I feel about new Trek.
I like to
But
feel like it all ended with the Enterprise show.
that's the same. That's my block of Trek, and that's and even not all of that was great, but it was still Star Trek. I don't consider things in the modern era, the post J.J. Abrams stuff, and then Discovery and
Yeah.
Picard. Unfortunately, I don't consider that
Unrecognizable.
Trek. It's not. It's like alternate universe Star Trek. It doesn't it's not canon in my world, and you can and I know people liked season 3 of Picard. I that's fine. The problem is you had seasons 1 and 2 of Picard. That's why
Precisely.
it's like if season 1 and 2 are not watchable, but people are like, well, season 3 is all right. But seasons 1 and 2. So but Star Trek the original series I still think is brilliant writing on so many levels. Because you not only get the great stories, just the sci-fi stories and the aliens, the Klingons, the Romulans, the time travel stuff, the city on the edge of forever,
Oh, God.
the lost Earths, the mirror universe, all that. What you get is a brilliant relationship show between these characters. Kirk and Scotty and Spock and Bones at the crux of it, and the humanity, yes, Spock, I'm including you in that, between these characters and the genuine bonds that are represented, of loyalty, friendship, all of that are timeless. And it
Correct.
was well done back then, and people can make fun of Shatner's acting as much as they want to. That's fine, but it still stands up today. We still talk about those shows today as being relevant. And in 5 years, no one's going to care. I'm V-chipping myself. No one's going to care about Strange New Worlds. No one's going
No.
to, people have forgotten about Discovery already. This is not stuff that matters. That was the one that mattered. Next Gen, also good television, but original series is the one that we we nerds fight about still now
Mhm.
in very passionate ways because it was that good.
Oh, yeah, and it brings up, debates and they're great discussion starters, and it didn't matter the fact that obviously the special effects are way out of, old
No,
fashioned.
because but it's like Doctor Who, the original run of Doctor Who, and even early modern Who. I guess that's the best again. 2005 to 2017 Who. Still, a lot of you don't watch it for the effects.
No,
You watch it because of the stories and the characters. Good stories and good characters go a long way when effects fail.
darn right. Yep, and nothing can take the place of all of those things. So, well, I really love everything you shared. Oh my gosh, this is also just giving me a whole bunch of nostalgia. Before we go into roll 7, is there anything else you want to say about TV shows or favorite TV shows?
Write better stuff.
Oh, yeah,
what
yes,
I
please.
what I would say is stop looking to the past. Stop trying to rehash things. Create new things, or if you really need to go to the past, there are thousands of stories out there in this paper with bindings things called books.
Hmm.
There are stories there that have never seen the screen. Find something unique, find something original, make it magnificent, make it so everybody wants to talk about it, and do that. Don't try to deliver a message to this much of the population or to this much of the population that you're trying to speak against. Star Trek managed to do exactly the right thing with the messaging in it.
Hmm.
You can look to that as an example. Don't look to it as source material.
No.
Come up with new stuff, come up with unique things. That's what I would say to the world of television today.
Well, amen to all of that. All right. Well, we're getting ready for a roll 20 reminder. Everyone in the chat, they can also participate in this. I have my list of 20 questions and my D20. Do, 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 do. Here we go. Roll number 1. Oh, need to open up my little paper. If you could have dinner with one famous person, who would it be and why?
George Patton, because I
Who?
would like to get his perspective on modern military tactics.
Oh boy. And I'm sure he'd have something to say about certain other aspects
I'm,
of the
I'm,
military
I'm
that we
sure he
probably
would.
shouldn't talk
I'm
about.
sure he would, but yeah, I think it'd be a fascinating conversation.
Oh, that would be badass. All right, excellent. George Patton. What is something on your bucket list?
To go to Europe, because that's where my ancestry is, and oddly, that's one of the few places that my career in the military never took me.
Wow. Because most people in the military have at least been to Germany, but oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
those
that
are usually Army guys. Yeah, Navy guys, not so
oh,
much. Depends on which coast you are as to where you end up going. I was West Coast my entire career, so we went to Asia and that part of the world.
ah, shows my ignorance of the military. It's like, oh, yeah, I once dated a guy and I accidentally introduced him as the wrong branch, and he was like, "That was painful." It's like, "Sorry, I'm so sorry."
That's
Yeah.
funny. That's
Yes.
funny.
Yeah, I won't read that aloud because, like I said, I just got mostly monetized. I don't wanna ruin it.
Well, cheers to that.
Yeah. All right, no, roll number 3, but yes, Timon, you never go wrong about, the communisms. Yeah, the communists. All right, what's the worst piece of advice you've ever been given?
Don't get married. Yeah, my Missus of the Empire and I married young. Certainly by modern standards, we got married this, super young. I was 19, she was 18. And
Wha
both her parents and my parents were wildly against it. And this will be our 34th anniversary coming up in December.
Whoa! Well, there you go. I must admit there was part of me was like, "Dang, that's young." But
It was,
yeah. Yeah.
but you know,
Yeah, well, my best friend, her parents got married when they were 18 and they're still together 50 plus years later, so yeah. Well, there you go. Don't Okay, let me put it this way. If someone doesn't want you to get married, if the person you're with is toxic and a psycho, then yes, take that advice. But
right. They thought we were too young. We were young, but to be fair, all of them have been divorced and remarried at least once or twice, sometimes more than that.
Mhm.
And like I said, we're on year 34 now, so
So there you go.
whatever. Huh, I guess you
Yeah.
guys were not right. Maybe it's coming up. Maybe we just haven't hit our rough
N-
spot.
Nah, most of the time, if you've reached this, what's your oh, for crying out loud, we're gonna skip this one. What's your favorite TV show and why? It's like that's all we've been talking about. Um, so oh my gosh, I rolled the same thing. Get a lottery ticket, and oh, what's the besides people you love and Jesus? What's the one thing you can't live without? Because everyone always wants to say Jesus, and I'm like, can't say Jesus.
Music.
Oh,
Um,
music.
yeah, it goes. It's people. It's funny to ask if you had to lose your eyes or your hearing, what would you choose? Eyes would be difficult, but without music, I think life is it loses an awful lot. Music conveys things that the visual doesn't.
Mhm.
And I think it touches you in a very different way. I've been a musician really all of my adult life and much of my youth, and that's something that I could not separate from myself.
Yeah. I agree. I've been a musician longer. I'm a classical musician. There is no way.
Mm.
No way. And I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure of like conducting an orchestra or if you're not a classical, but there is
I'm not
nothing.
classical.
Yeah, it just occurred to me. It's like, wait a second,
you,
I'm a
you may
snob
find
here.
this surprising.
Snob alert. But until you have conducted an orchestra, I mean, if that is your inclination, there is nothing this side of heaven like getting that baton and just giving the downbeat and boom, the whole orchestra takes off. It's
See, that's
unbelievable.
me on a live stage, which I haven't gotten to do in a minute. But that is the craziest high for me ever is
Mhm.
doing the big show, and they're all out there and they're there for you and you are just going to town, and
Yeah.
and you wrote that stuff. You're not playing someone else's stuff. You wrote that
Mhm.
stuff and you're just flying, and yeah, that's the best.
Nice. Heck yes. Jacob would want to have a conversation with the Apostle Paul. I think he would be a
Mm,
hoot. I don't know about
I think you're
that.
right. I mean,
He frightens
Paul
me
was a
sometimes when he rebukes. I wouldn't want to get a rebuke from St. Paul.
true.
No, thank. But I know what you mean. I think he also probably did have a sense of humor. Um, if you could, oh wait, nabbit, get a lottery ticket now. You keep getting the
Another
same
one,
rolls here,
another
same
one.
numbers. Oh, what's the most immature thing that you do?
Ooh. This is gonna sound horrible. I burp in front of my family. It's disgusting, and I know it, but I do it anyway.
Okay, that's
It's not
fair.
it's not great. It's not great. But yeah, I'm a fast eater, and it's got to go somewhere. And better out than in, as Shrek would say.
Hey, anyone that says they do otherwise is a liar.
So
That's all
that's
it is.
it's probably it. It's probably it.
Yeah. But yeah, obviously you can't do that in public,
You
or you
shouldn't do
shouldn't.
that in public.
Yeah. All right, yeah,
I've been
it's
married 34 years.
yeah.
I'm not trying to really impress at this point.
True. Where do you feel most out of place?
Ooh. Where do I feel most out of place? That's an excellent question. I don't really feel out of place anywhere. Um, I would say at parties, and specifically not my own. I don't
Mhm.
like going to other people's functions, and that may sound horrible. Um, I'm I'm a bit of a conundrum because I'm an extrovert, but I hate crowds, especially crowds I don't know. And I always feel very kind of crushed
Mhm.
in that
I get
environment.
it.
So I don't like going to that type of thing. So that's yeah, I feel kind of out of my skin.
Okay. Yeah, no, I get you. I hate crowds. When I go to mass, I always look, where's the most empty pew and
Mrs. of the
where
Empire does the same thing. Mrs. of the Empire does the same thing.
it's like,
It's funny
listen.
though because I can be on stage with, you know, 100 of people in front of me, and I have no problem with that because I'm on the stage. If I was in the
Mhm.
crowd, actually, I don't like doing that either. It's an opposite effect,
Yeah,
which is
claustrophobic.
weird. And like I said, same room, just different perspectives.
Sure. Yeah. No, I get you. I get you. And last but certainly not least, oh, what is the most annoying habit other people have?
Oh, there's so many. I think not listening is
Ooh.
one of the worst. And this is something, I mean, and I think we're all semi guilty of this. They're waiting to respond. They are not listening to what you're saying. So
Mhm.
you finish saying what you're saying, and you're actually looking for some kind of um, something that relates to what you said. And they what other people generally would like to do, and I said we all do this, is they say something that relates to them, not relating to what you said. And I think that's and everybody does it. That's why I guess maybe why it's
Mhm.
so annoying is that Matt the drummer, I love you. I'm talking to you. He's my
Oh,
best friend, and I want to hit him in the face so many times when we have our talks, though.
yeah. No, I mean that's the thing. Well, and I know what you mean when you're sitting there. It's like, are you listening to what I'm saying, or when people try to twist it actually, and they look for that one thing that you say where they're like, "Aha, let me zone in on that so I don't have to focus on the main issue you have." That's another thing that is
Yeah,
very
it's
frustrating.
not it's in that same neighborhood of
Mhm.
the
Yeah,
way
not listening.
conversations happen now or don't happen, I guess.
Yeah, no. Well, and I think, definitely social media is not helping that.
Oh no, not at all. It's funny because I love and hate social media. We all use
Mhm,
pardon me, see there it goes. That's the bubblies. It's the we many of us use it like Twitter. Uh, I'm not going to call it the other thing. Twitter, I got on specifically because of my channel. That's why I'm on
mhm,
Twitter. If I didn't have a channel, I wouldn't be on Twitter. Um, I Facebook and Instagram, I just don't care about so much anymore. They were there, they kind of serve their purpose. And I usually
mhm,
just advertise there now. That's kind of what they've become to me. I do like to put out things about the dog because people enjoy the dog. But the way people have exchanges on those platforms are in no way that people could have exchanges in the real world because there would be altercations the way that
mhm.
these things go. So it's that shield of anonymity that social media offers. That is, it's not a real thing.
No.
You're nothing. You're a mushroom having a conversation with a carrot. None of it really matters. Um, because you're not having a conversation. You're having yelling points at point A and point Z to people who you don't know, who don't care about what you're saying, and you're not changing anyone's opinion. It doesn't matter. But yet everybody likes to bluster about these things. Sometimes it's, within your own sphere, and that's generally fine because you're actually, bantering about a topic. But when someone else from the outside interjects, from the woke zone
Mhm.
or wherever, then they throw their toxic landmine in and they run back to the safety of the basement. And again, it's not a conversation. It's just trying to hurt each other
Yes. And
with
it's not
meaning
just the woke
work.
that's been doing that lately,
No,
pointing
you're
some
right.
fingers of judgment out there, 'cause I've
You're
started to
not
get
wrong.
very frustrated with our side, quote unquote, "our
No,
side."
no, and that's and Mrs. of the Empire and I talk about this a lot. We're like the Ents. We're not on anyone's side because no one's on our side.
Mhm. Yeah, especially I've noticed since the monetization of people's Twitter accounts, I've seen it go up, to a whole other level.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, because people that do have that
Yay.
monetization, they'll throw out these bombs, and that's what I'm
Oh,
saying, like,
just trying to keep the fire going.
yeah, and like I said, even people
Conflict
on
is money.
yeah, or even circular firing squad, like, they'll fire at their own peeps, and then he's like, "Well, what the hell, man? Why are you doing that to us? We've never done this," and it's like, boom, you just gave the person you gave
Yep.
him the engagement, so it doesn't matter, so I'm just saying that the goal has been, what can I do or say to get the most responses
Right. It's not the
rather
same thing.
than yeah,
Than
and,
getting genuine responses. It's getting movement versus genuine interaction.
yeah, and it's only been getting worse. Yeah, I have a yeah. Main reason why I'm on it or have stayed rather is because there's so many people, especially my friends from Europe. This is the easiest way for us to stay in touch because, telephones and email. A lot of people aren't
Right.
using emails anymore. So this is a way that I stay in touch. Like every
I
now and
hate
then I'll
email.
just
I hate
yeah,
it.
I'll like deactivate it and then all of a sudden half of Europe is like, wait a second, how do we get a hold of you? It's like, duh, so I'll
Yes.
reactivate it. Uh yeah. Um Jacob says, I hate one-sided conversation. I hate leaving a conversation where the other person to talk about themselves the entire time. Yeah. Um, and as far as conflict goes, like sometimes it even well, former friends, people that have tried to do that on Twitter, like tried to draw me into a public fight. I will never do that on Twitter. I will invite the person into a voice discussion on Hangout or something, and a, someone that's how do I say this? So far, only one person has taken me up on that opportunity. It's like, hey, you want to discuss this? We're going to discuss it in a hangout. I'm not
Right.
going to sit and do this because where everyone can see, where everyone, and then you just realize, no, this
I,
person was just performing.
I will admit I have and it's usually not about a topic. It's a personal attack and
Hmm.
people may not realize this about me. I have a bit of a temper.
Uh oh.
I try to keep it at bay on social media, but every now and then someone says just the right phrase and I go into Hulk mode. And I don't it's like one of those things you can see yourself doing it like, no, don't type that. Certainly don't hit send, but there you are hitting send.
Hmm.
And it's not good. It's not healthy. You don't end up looking better. You didn't win anything because of that. And
No,
it's funny because you end up wandering across these people again. You're like, oh, you know what? They're actually not that bad.
no.
And you're like, no, well, that's salted ground now. That's dead zone. You killed that.
Yeah. Even when
So
you're right, you're wrong.
even
And
when
that,
you're right,
yeah.
exactly. You killed for no reason. You just left it alone. Just don't say anything. Not saying anything is generally the best policy when you're about to engage someone in a duel of words that doesn't
Hmm.
need to happen on the interwebs where everyone can see it.
Yeah, precisely. And through experience, I've learned it's on purpose. It's for the very purpose of doing that. It's always, what do they say in January? Be careful. Everyone's trying to pick a fight because, in January, a lot of people don't have money.
Oh,
So they don't spend a lot of money on super chats and engagement or like things on
oh,
Twitter subscriptions. Hey, once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. Just pay attention. It's going to start January
that's good
1st.
advice.
Just
It's
look for
coming.
it. People will be picking
Beware.
fights. They always pick fight. I not they, I mean, you'll just see it everywhere.
Hey,
And
right.
it's kind of become a bit of a game for me, to be honest. It's like, okay, what's it going to be this time? It's like, oh, that's going to be the fight that folks
Hmm.
are picking because, and again, because you need to get the engagement. And of course, the worst thing, never do. I'll just say this in public. Sometimes I say this in private to people. If two people are fighting, never ever take a side, because
No.
sometimes they actually have a mutual agreement that they're going to have a fake fight for engagement.
Oh,
That
wow.
happens. True
How
story. It
dreadful
happens.
is that?
I'm just telling you. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, wait, so that person never liked me to begin with. Wait, that person doesn't like me? It's like, yeah, you know what? You've always been a jerk. And then it's all of a sudden they're like, hey, we were
Oh
this
my
is
gosh.
and I've also seen it happen where there's been mutually agreed arguments and then one goes too far. It's just such a
Oh dear.
minefield. But yeah, that's why I always say never take a side in an argument because you don't know how real it is and you
Right.
don't
Oh my
know
God.
or you don't know if they're gonna make up the next day, and then you're the a-hole for
Yeah. Now you're the bad guy.
yeah,
Exactly. Wow.
that's something I learned heck in middle school. When your friend, your best friend breaks up with her boyfriend, and then you're like, "Yeah, he's been a blah, blah, I never liked him to begin with." And she's like, "Yeah, he's awful." And then they
Oh.
make up, and she's like, "And then you said this about him." I'm like, "You did too."
Oh
Oh,
God. High school
dear.
relationships. Those were tough. Those were tough.
Yeah. Well,
But sometimes you end up getting married. So who knows?
yeah, yes, you do. You never know. Well, okay. Well, before we sign off, where can we find you, Roman?
Ah, so I'm on Twitter, Roman of the Empire, and oddly enough, on YouTube also as Roman of the Empire. I have a weekly show on Thursdays at 5 Pacific Standard. Every week, unless the meteor is coming, I do a show. Right now, we're covering Ahsoka, which I'm not proud of, but I've got a really good panel, and they do a nice job of the goods and bads of picking this thing apart. So that's what we are looking at right now. And coming in the October, we're going to have kind of our spooky season, and we're going to be looking at horror movies and doing some fun stuff over there. So that's what I do.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you. So, everyone, please go ahead and make sure that you're subscribed to Roman of the Empire and follow him on Twitter.
And thank you for having me so much. This has been an awful lot of fun. It's been a very nice conversation, and I appreciate that.
Oh well, thank you. I enjoy it. That just warms my stone cold heart. Oh yeah, speaking of the meteor advocate Timon, he's working on it. He's been trying to get that meteor to come. We do not.
We need someone. We need someone. Bring it.
Yeah, we need.
Bring it.
I'm ready for it because we can't have a flood again. If so, I'll take a
Well,
meteor. So
meteor strike is nice. It's quick. It's over pretty. It's
yeah,
just
we won't
oh,
even
what
know
was
it's
that
coming.
flash?
Boom.
Done.
Yeah, it's like what's that? Us and then we'll just go the way of the dinosaurs. Well, no, but again, thank you. And like I said, it warms my stone cold heart to see you say that and people in the chat who tend to enjoy this. So please stay tuned to Miss Smart Muses if you do like this kind of conversation. I've also got some horror content coming up, a few reviews. We the People Wednesday hopefully will happen. Right now I have a lot of construction in my house, so my live stream depends on how much jackhammering is happening in
Ah,
my living
that's a
room.
big thing. I know. I know. I've been there.
Alrighty. So thank you very much. Have a great evening, everyone. Have a great evening and be certain to only watch good TV shows.